Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. Okay, so can we rational conservatives, and I call myself a conservative now because I'm trying to conserve time-tested, obvious ideas that are observable to any human being with eyeballs and patience and the senses to look and observe nature and describe it accurately, in detail. I want to conserve that tradition, to accurately observe and describe reality. Not fantasies, not ideals, but just how God made things. Look at it, study it, think about it, watch it some more, take some notes, compare it with other things. Look at this tree, then look at that tree. Look at that flower, then look at that flower. Look at this pigeon, then that hawk, then that bird with the flapping wings that are going a million miles an hour, and it has a long beak that sucks juice out of that flower you were looking at. And the bees, the birds and the bees. Look at the birds. Look at the bees. Figure out how God made them. Watch the patterns. Compare the patterns. Then describe them as accurately as you possibly can. And then you will know how God intended things to be, or nature, or whatever you want to call it. Reality. I like to call it reality, but it confuses people when I use the word reality instead of God or nature. Reality made you that way. What? Be humble in the face of reality. I mean, it makes sense, right? Okay, but so in this conservative effort, this conservative thinking, this effort to accurately describe nature and reality, it is very accurate to say that men can beat the shit out of women quite handily, quite easily. There are a few exceptions, but we don't talk about the exceptions when we're trying to figure out the way God made things, the way nature made things, the way reality made things. When we look at the whole picture, men can beat the shit out of women quite handily. Boys can beat the shit out of women pretty easily. And you don't have to go to training. You don't have to have lessons. You can just be an average couch potato guy. And if a woman cop shows up and she doesn't have her gun, you can just punch her, wrestle her, and laugh as she tries to put your arms behind her, tries to get you in cuffs. Even if she has two women friends helping her. If they don't have the pepper spray and the stun guns and stuff, and even if they do, it's just comedy. It's just pure comedy. I don't know if you watched the soccer match between the 14-year-old soccer team and the U.S. Women's Olympic team. That Megan Rapinoe or whatever the fuck her name was. Comedy, pure comedy. Men, just by being born, generally speaking, almost always, can beat the shit out of women. Most of them don't, thank goodness. Most of them, with that strength, with that ability to beat the shit out of women, actually use that strength to protect women from other men. This doesn't look so great on men. Well, why are the men attacking the women? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Something about the devil. Okay. But men, for a long time, have been fighting wars, spilling their blood for sisters, daughters, wives, grandmothers, mothers, instead. And occasionally you hear about the man that slaps the woman across the face or gives her a shoulder shake. Very popular in old-timey movies. Do you see a woman getting hysterical and a man go, "Get a hold of yourself, Edna." And the woman goes, "Oh, thanks, I needed that." Just a slap, just a shoulder shake. Usually just raise your hand and that's enough. For millions of years that worked, And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it's all of a sudden, but along the way, some women started thinking, I want to be like one of them. Men were out wrestling in the nude in Greece, putting on their togas and throwing discs through the air and javelins and running and wrestling, leg wrestling, wiener stretching. I don't know what they were doing. But men in this nature thing, also, along with this ability to beat the crap out of women and men, practice beating the crap out of men and running and throwing things and wiener stretching. And they call it sports. They call it sports. Pretty unique to men, this sports thing. For a long time, it was men doing sports. Women had things that kind of looked like that, maybe dancing, They had, I don't know, for a long time, were women competing with each other? Yeah, they competed with each other to get men. So that the men could compete with the men to get goats and milk and other products that make raising children and living on earth comfortable and nice, But the men weren't competing with the women. And the women weren't saying, "Hey, I want in on this wiener stretching thing. I want to run against you." A couple tried, probably. When kids are little kids, the little girls might race the little boys. And when before they reach 5 years old, there's kind of a special window where kids' little legs and their little arms are all pretty much the same, and girls can kind of compete with boys physically, especially if they're a year older. But that ends pretty quickly, even before puberty, where the boys start just kicking ass because they have not necessarily the boy bodies at that point, having not yet gone through puberty. Little boys and little girls have bodies that look kind of the same, thin or fat or chubby or whatever, just kids' bodies, But the brains are different. How to move those limbs, how to swing the fist, how to throw the ball. You start to see little boys throw a ball aggressively and accurately, and little girls throw the ball in a way that if a boy throws a ball like that, they say you throw like a girl. And nobody taught the girls to throw like a girl. They just do, naturally. Weird, right? That God or nature would create beings to throw balls differently. The creatures with balls know how to throw balls. The creatures without balls don't throw the balls so well. A little bit of poetry in there. Get out your Kleenex for that. So sports are just kind of a guy thing. But then we advance all the way to society, and then the printing press comes along, and suddenly you're no longer accountable for your ideas. You can write them down and send out the books. People can start reading about stories. You can start implanting ideas. You can start undermining this partnership. Maybe I skipped over that part. The part about the partnership, I shouldn't skip over that. With all the differences between men and women, what's amazing is that these creatures are also attracted to each other. Who knows why? You probably saw the movie Blue Lagoon. You know, you don't even need to teach kids about boners and boobs. You don't. Without even any instruction at a certain age, little boys and little girls, or we should say a little bit older boys and a little bit older girls, or maybe even young men and young women, get this desire to start rubbing up against each other. And wouldn't you know it, if they do that for long enough, they create more little creatures. More little boys and more little girls. Nobody had to tell them how to do it. They just knew how to do it because God told them how. And this partnership, you don't even need to tell them how to do the partnership. Well, boy, you're the strong one. You go out and fight the other dudes that are coming to rape our bitches and steal our corn and our shells, our conches. This partnership, it just works. Kind of how it works in my pie cooler. Do you know what a pie cooler is? A pie cooler is this little amazing thing they have on Victorian houses. I live in a Victorian house that was built in 1885. And just off the kitchen, there's a pie cooler. It's a little box attached to the outside of the house with a little window that opens up to it. So you can just put your pie out of the oven outside in a little box that has a screen on it. Well, the screen fell off of mine, and I'm not making a lot of pies, and a couple of pigeons moved in there, Porky and his wife, Ribbons. And they have laid at least 8 clutches of 2 eggs each in that pie cooler. And I have a camera in the pie cooler so I can watch them raising their young. And they partner. And Porky, I know Porky very well. I know Ribbons less well because Ribbons is in the pie cooler a lot. And Porky is up on the deck getting the peanuts and the food and the sunflower seeds. You know, he's a very good provider, and he's kicking ass. He's kicking E-Dub's ass. He kicks Rooney's ass, and Rooney's bigger than him. You know, he shows who's boss. He's been around for a long time. He's getting older, so things are changing a little bit. He's taking a little bit different tactics than he took a couple years ago. But he knows how to do it. I didn't teach him. I know that he's not teaching his kids how to do it. He's not saying, hey, look, this is how you boss around the other pigeons. No, in fact, he kicks them out of the flock. They don't even stick in the flock long. They go join a different flock. He might be a cold dad. He takes care of them for a while, and then at a certain point he goes, all right, fuck you, that's enough. That's enough. I'm going to stop feeding you out of my mouth. I'm going to stop letting you suck the food out of my face, which is what they do. And he says, you got to go get your own goddamn food now. In fact, get the fuck away from this food because I'm eating it. And he'll chase him away. You know, changes pretty quickly. It's like one day he just goes, enough. You're old enough. You're now competing with me for food. Go find your own fucking food. And nobody taught him this. And Ribbons and him, you know, even when they're not laying eggs, between clutches, there will be about sometimes a week or 2 or 3 weeks where they don't have another clutch. And I'll see them just out on the roof next door together dating. That's what I call it. I call it dating. Nuzzling. Just enjoying their time together. Not changing shifts sitting on the eggs, Pigeons both sit on the eggs, by the way. The females sit on it most, but they switch off, and it's just a shift in duty. Porky comes back. Ribbons goes, oh, hey, glad to see you. He sits on the nest. She goes out, goes up on the deck, goes around, eats some bugs, does her girly pigeon shit, comes back and trades places with Porky. Nobody taught him. God taught him. Nature taught him. Reality taught him. And human beings have that same natural inclination. But somewhere along the line, you get some people that go, I want to change that. I resent that. Maybe it's a bitter man that never found a woman. Maybe it's a bitter woman that never found a man. Maybe it's somebody that, was mistreated. I don't know, but they decide, I don't like this working out. I don't like the way they're raising their family. I don't like their clutches. I don't like that they have a nice house and I'm sitting over here all by myself. I'm going to write a story. I'm going to figure out how to undermine all this shit. I don't like it. Ribbons, she sits on the nest too long. Porky's only sitting on it for 30% of the time. It's not fair. The nest is boring. Luckily, we don't have that in the pigeon world, but we do have it in the human world. And that happened. Communists, feminists, they decided they didn't like the way God made things. We don't like it. We're changing it. And they destroyed the partnership. They've been trying to destroy the partnership by creating resentment. Women, everything you do is inferior. You shouldn't do that. Staying at home, taking care of babies, sitting on nests, raising young. Sure, that might be the most important part of life on planet Earth. Sure, yes, that is exactly how the species survives, by raising young, by taking care of them. Yes, okay, fine, it's the most important job, but you know what? It sucks. And until you act like a man, you're not equal. Until you go out and do the things that Porky does. Until you're a madman doing the ad agency job, working in a corporate desk, until you have your little portrait hanging on the wall in the lobby of Acme Corp. You don't have value. Feminine things are for second-class citizens. And suddenly all these women are like, I want to compete with the boys. That doesn't work out. They get their ass kicked hard. But men go, okay, look, you want to do sports too? Fine. You didn't invent this sport, but go ahead. You guys play basketball too. Go ahead and play volleyball. Go ahead. You guys can compete against each other and we'll cheer you on. We'll go, oh, isn't that cute how the girls play sports too? You can LARP around as men as much as you want. We'll support you. We'll let you do it. And that's fine. But then, I'm going to take a little break here. It's not a commercial break. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit to where I wanted to start this thing. As conservatives, men can kick women's asses, right? At a certain point, men went from allowing women to pretend to have their own sports leagues to allowing women to play men's sports. Right? Not the ones where they get their ass kicked, but the other ones, the corporate gig. I think we can all agree. As conservatives, can we all agree that it's very bad to let men into women's sports because the women get their asses kicked? Well, the opposite is true too. When you let women into men's sports, what happens is you end up getting men in women's sports. And when I talk about men's sports, I'm talking about politics, I'm talking about cops. I'm talking about the army. I'm talking about heavy lifting. I'm talking about strategies of big companies, mergers, hardcore business, doing trades, trading furs, hunting, you know. Hunting's a big one. But we let women, at some point, somebody wrote enough things and said enough tricks and did enough movies and enough media that we convinced men, and like I said in yesterday's recording, times were so good, men made the world so good, there was so much abundance, and men had solved so many problems, they thought, it's not going to hurt to let some women act like men. Let's just let them in. They can run this corporation. They can run this thing. Come on, let them be a cop. What's it going to hurt? There's not even that much crime. Just let them play dress up. We can have a female politician. This one's screaming a lot. Let's just let her try it. What can it hurt? And then it goes on, and then it goes on, and then it goes on. We keep letting women play men's sports, politics. They don't have the brains, they don't have the bodies to do it. And by the way, politics is a violent profession. Politics is violence, or are violence. I don't know, how do you say that? Politics are violence? Is politics singular or plural? I don't know. But it's violent. That's where that comes from. And women don't know how to use violence. It's why when you have a single mom, the kids get the shit beat out of them a lot, because women don't know how to deal with violence. They don't know how to control it. They don't know when to use it and when not to use it. They don't know when to stop using it. I'm making some big general things that are just going to annoy most of the people listening to this, but I feel comfortable in that I'm accurately describing reality. And I think you know that too. You could lie to yourself. But now we let women into men's sports, and that's created what we have now. Now we have the correction. We're coming full circle. That the men, because women are allowed to lead, because women, we've decided, okay, yeah, women, they're not supposed to follow. They're supposed to lead. We'll follow you into battle. Oh yeah, there's a tribe coming over the hill to steal our bitches. Let's put mom and grandma and little Susie on the front line. How can it hurt? Well, we're figuring that out. We're seeing Europe invaded by masculine cultures, and they're just fucking raping. Raping. Oh, how do you say that? Because I watch the news. I see the things, and I get it straight from the sources now. It's not filtered. You just see regular people on the street now. People can report their own things. You don't have to have the Politburo. I don't know. Trying to sound smart. The Gestapo. I don't know. The board of advisors, the the PTA. Things aren't getting filtered through that anymore. We get it directly from the sources. The PTA isn't deciding what we get to see and what we don't get to see. And we're seeing that women being put in charge doesn't work out for women. It ends up ruining things for women. Suddenly the sports that they like, the women's sports that they like, suddenly now men pretending to be women are kicking their asses. This isn't bad news. This is good news. This is nature just going, excuse me, hello? Yeah, men actually can kick women's asses. So you can keep pretending, but that's the deal. Even if you put a dress on them, they can still kick it. You can even chop off their dick, and they can still kick your ass. They can still do it. But let's just apply that to the other men's sports. Men should not be in women's sports, okay? I don't even know if there should be women's sports. There are women's sports. I'm not saying to get rid of them all. But I think that the women's sports, the existence of women's sports, is evidence of social engineering because I don't think it's natural. I don't think left to their own devices without interference by a few resentful people trying to undermine, trying to get one over on God, trying to exact their revenge and the resentment of God. You know, their jealousy, their resentment. And that's what it is. Leftist policy, leftist evil, leftism is all about resentment, actual hatred, you know, and it might even be justified. I can understand why somebody with a misshapen face and one short leg and one long leg, bad skin, I can understand why a person like that might be upset with God. You know, I'd probably listen to some of their music and cry along with them about that kind of pain. But do I want them to set policy for how women should be, how families should be? Do I want them to have political power? Do I want them to be wielding the gun of government? No, I don't. I don't. The people I want wielding the gun of government, well, first of all, I want the gun of government to be very small. It's going to exist, but I want it to be very small, very limited. And I want it to be limited to the most masculine men, the most capable masculine men. You know? Not little wimpy guys with powdered wigs, you know, playing dress up. I want tall, strong, capable men. The kind that can build things quickly, the kind that can cooperate with other men, the kind that can put together a group of men very quickly to kick another group of men's asses. You know? They can organize it, they can think about it. The kind of the men that when a woman enters their space will go, "Excuse me, we're doing something here. Can you please step aside? We don't need your input. We don't need you to teach us how to be men. We don't need you to teach us how to go to war. We don't need you to teach a pigeon how to be a pigeon. We don't. We don't need it. Can you just step aside?" We're done with the pretend. And we're done because Islam and these masculine cultures are starting to rape our bitches and steal our shit. Steal our shit. Vote through votes and taxes. And women's votes. Women's vote are voting for them because they don't have any kids anymore. They're doing the baby showers, but without babies. The new babies are the immigrants and the foreigners. That they don't want to live next door to them, but they want to say, "I'm helping them, I'm helping them." They're victims. Men need to save women from women. Now, because men allowed women to play men's sports, it's up to men to take the men's sports back. This is why it's good that MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, quit. She's a woman. She proved it. Her sob story resigning was what a woman would write and should write. And we should expect a woman to write. Very little self-awareness, very little humility. Just, I'm a hero, I'm a hero. You don't appreciate me, it can't be done. I couldn't do it, therefore it can't be done. It's hopeless. Darling, please step aside and let men do the things that men can do. You weren't built to do this, Marjorie. Yes, there are exceptions. But grown-ups don't make the rules based on the exceptions. Okay? I'm not thrilled that Pam Bondi's in the position that she is, but it is a subordinate position. It is a follower position. Ideally, she should be, well, Maybe that's not the way the Constitution works. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but to me, the executive, Donald Trump, the one that we all vote for, everybody votes for him. He should be making those calls. That's why I voted for him. I want him to run the country from his executive position. And I want the people that he picks to put in his cabinet to be subordinate to him. And I want them to work to be on his team because I voted for him. I didn't vote for these ladies. I didn't vote for Kristi Noem. I didn't vote for Tulsi Gabbard. I didn't vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I didn't vote for Susie Wiles. I did vote for J.D. Vance. I didn't vote for Kash Patel. He's a little feminine to me. I have a feeling his upper body strength isn't that great. Indians rank very low for strength. Anyway, thank goodness we live in an era, in a very short window. We've got this window where we can say anything. As soon as the lefties get in control again, I'm fucked. I know that. But if I die in a knife fight with a communist, at least it's not boring, right? Anyway, yeah, it's time for conservatives to understand that having men in women's sports is terrible. But even worse than that is women in men's sports. It's taken me a long time to get to this point, but that's what I'm trying to say. Men in women's sports is slightly less bad than women in men's sports, because women in men's sports are exactly how you get men in women's sports. That's how that works. All the dick chopping off, all the boob slicery, all of that stuff is because we let women play men's sports. And the only way we get out of it is when we stop letting women play men's sports. Men should play men's sports. Women should play women's sports. And I'm even saying that with the caveat that I don't think they don't need sports. I don't think women are competitive in that way. They're competitive with each other. They are competitive in the way that you see on TV. The housewives. They're competitive to see who can get the man who will provide them the most stuff. To find the man who will do the most things for them. To make their home and their abode and their life as pleasant and as cushy and as long nail having as they can. The longer their nails, the more they can prove that they don't have to play men's sports. They don't have to even play women's sports. They don't even have to have hands that can work very well. They can put these long things on the end of them that render their hands almost useless. That's what we want. That's good. That's not bad. I'm not demeaning these women. The most important possible job that could happen for women and for men and for all mankind is that women go back to the most important job, which is raising happy, healthy children. Children who know that their mothers love them. Not women who ship their kids off to school to other gay women and gay men that will indoctrinate them into playing sports and turning their boys into girls and the girls into boys. No, keep them home, raise them well, hug them, let the man do the dirty work. You be the good guy. Mom, you don't have to even punish your kids. You don't have to slap your kids. You don't even need to spank them. You don't need to use violence. You don't have the brain for it. Just say, wait till your dad gets home. Let him do the tough job. His brain was built for it. He can scare the child into submission. He can correct the child appropriately, probably without even having to be violent, because he has the strength. And kids see that. When you see your dad do something, you just go, oh, wow, dad can do that. My dad's the strongest dad in the world. He can lift up a house. The partnership must be restored. People must go back into their roles, their good roles. Embrace the roles. God made you for the roles. If you fight God, God will fight back. If you fight reality, reality will remind you that reality can't be fucked with. If you think a boy can turn into a girl, that boy will beat up a girl while he's dressed as a girl. Anyway, so hopefully there's a way back to this. I think there might be. In my last recording, I said that Islam would probably be a crucial role in that. The burqas and rapes and all that stuff would probably have to happen to make life really painful, until women will just voluntarily. I don't know that we're going to get women to just voluntarily stop playing men's sports. I don't think that it's not just going to come like, you know what? I mean, it did. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's an example of somebody that said, I don't want to do it. I mean, the wage gap is an evidence of it. Women decide they want men's careers, and guess what? They don't stay at the office late. They quit after 4 years. I don't really want to be a lawyer after all. I don't really want to be a doctor. Turns out I don't really want to be the executive at Mad Men, Inc. They do go back. Most do go back. Most want to go back, even though they're stubborn. And it's hard to get the programming out of their mind, But I think that the good, dark news is that Islam will somehow show them, what the extreme looks like. The extreme other end. I don't know. I kind of been thinking about, I said that Islam was the extreme masculine, but I don't think it is actually. I think if you want real extreme masculine, you're going to get two weird examples, which is Africa and Nordic Viking shit. Islam to me is more like this weird mixture of feminine and masculine, kind of weak men that do really violent shit. Judaism looks kind of feminine to me, but the Nordic shit and the African shit looks so masculine that it's like an extreme kind of version, which is why I don't think. Anyway, I don't want to get off into that conversation. That's going to be a different one. But, yeah. Let's get women out of men's sports. Let's get men out of women's sports. Let's have women's spaces. And let's let men have men's spaces. Is that good? Let the men be men. Let the women be women. We can make room for the twinks and the butches. We have softball and we have fashion and art. There's room for them too. Don't worry, feminine men. Don't worry, masculine women. We will make room for you as we always have. Anyway, thanks for listening. Unnecessary, outro song.